Hi, how are you? I wanted to. There's a. What I'm looking for is, um, what is it? Right now, inflation is going through the roof. Everyone's, and it sucks because this is an addendum to my 14th. But this is the reason is it's for the last since the 2009 crash. The Fed has been pumping cash into the assets, and then the CPI has been changed since 1982. So if you ever do the CPI, go back to 1982, use those baskets of goods to see what the true inflation is. Or if you're going to do a change up, make sure it's exact. The usage of sorts is within the exact same. Not say okay, steak instead of hamburger, hamburger instead of steak. No, that's not cool. But the reason, what I'm thinking is the inflation situation is we had to put all this cash into the economy. And what they've been doing is buying the bonds of these companies, basically getting debt, holding the debt of these large companies. Money printing is when we think. So the Fed has been doing two different things. It's been raising the assets, the value of these assets by holding their bonds, buying these assets, apparently, even though they weren't supposed to, apparently, therefore creating an asset bubble. And that's where we're talking about your wages have not gone up, but yet the stock market is going through the roof. And it's not connected to Main Street. Now, it was fine to help them a little bit, '09, then start tapering in 11 and 12, and then we start working. No, that didn't happen. What happened is they just kept buying the bonds, buying these corporate bonds, keep floating these companies. And they floated them for the last 10 years. So let's look at the stock market. S&P 500 chart. So let's go max. All right. 2002 financial crash. This was the financial crash right here. All of this from here to here is because of the Fed. A goodly amount of it. So that's now. So this is false assets, false value. Then, which didn't give us a cushion for when we had times to bounce. We always there's always cycles. Then there wasn't any. So there's so as the Fed pulls quantitative easing, this asset bubble, which is built upon the Fed easy money, is going to start going down. It's going to come retrace. The thing is, we don't want that at the exact same time where capital is going to leave the country. And even if it does, meh, so what? As long as there's cash flow. cash flow is what its name is, the true name of the game. Yes, there are some companies, a lot of companies now, we're growth stocks or whatever. Yeah, you're giving us money and we'll try to figure it out. That's what that is. And there's always going to be a little bit of those, sort of hedge fund stuff. But this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep the asset bubble here from crashing, and but well, actually, this is what Trump was planning on doing. Is anytime is year 16, which is here, September 15. So from 16 to here, as opposed to, yeah, it was from here to here, it was still too much quantitative easing. They're supposed to slowly start dropping it. And then you invest in people. And then as the assets kind of start flowing down, the investments in people catch up. And all of a sudden, like, bam, you got growth again. Only problem is to get that kind of growth, uh, you need these people need to feel that the capital of their country is investing in them. And their whole thing is, oh, is it paid for? It's never about if it's paid for. It is, are we going to increase productivity across a broad spectrum? Manchin killed the child tax credit. He was like, oh, well, for the child tax credit, help live kids who aren't in poverty. So basically, anyone making 60 grand or over gets the child tax credit. But if the persons who are barely making it, but they're busting their butt, they're working. And even if they're not working because they're elders and they're taking care of the children or taking care of the grandkids or whatever, because most of the child tax credit is actually goes to the child. It's attached to the child. It's not attached to the person, to the adult. So he doesn't want to take care of kids because kids that are healthy and thinking, well, they might actually, oh no, how dare, they might actually produce. Because one of the things that I always hated is they'll go get a job, and then you go, well, and you try to get a job, and then and then you're like, well, and that's all you hear. They know this. As I stated once, I was watching a video and the guy was talking about, oh, we're not racist, but there's certain jobs you can't get. And this was done in the Appalachians, if I remember correctly. Yes, it was done in the Appalachians, and he said that. And then we also know, Lindsey Graham was the one who split it up. We'll take the money that goes straight to only Caucasoid people, and then the monies that help working class, upper middle working class, because screw it, everyone's working. Unless you are getting your money in the mailbox, you're working class. Unless you own the company, you're working class. So all those white collar workers who are saying, "Well, I'm an accountant," well, you're working class. If you're making most of your money for your hourly wages, you're working class. Get that through your thick skulls. You're working class. You ain't special. And any of these things that help the working class help you, especially for white collar. And blue collar is, the bamboozle was always to your Caucasoid blue collar workers that you're supposed to be better than the Negroid blue collar workers or whatever workers or even the white collar workers. The blue collar workers are supposed to be better, whatever. And they play on their resentments and their fears of, oh, when you know that they're just they tear apart this country, and that's what politicians do. They gotta do what they do. But right now, usually there's always a base of like not totally destroying the country, just kind of I don't like maybe that person or that that what they're doing now is completely and they're not looking at the bigger picture. They're only looking for their own power or the bigger picture of their own power, even if it destroys the country. You, you so inflation. Right. I was just thinking that where it said there that Jill Biden took off said well she didn't take it off but the president and as a Dr. Biden as a educator they had to take off the tuition free or reduced tuition community college, which is stupid, absolutely flippin' stupid. An uneducated workforce is a useless workforce. What's the first thing they do when they get you in the military? They get you a job. You go, okay, what's your profession you're going to do? Doesn't matter if you're an officer. It doesn't matter if you're enlisted. You have a specialty. And you go from specialty to generalty. An educated workforce then knows that they can do things. An educated workforce creates a better country, creates a cleaner country. But we know from the South, they want their people poor. Give them a little emotion, kind of like what Kennedy's trying to do with the whole record thing over there. Oh, you get the motion, ooh. And then at the same time pulling the rug from underneath everything I'm doing. So that way she could still sit there. I think it's taking my focus away from music and everything else. That's not happening. While at the same time stating the that the persons who weren't smart enough to figure out how not to go to jail, that's African Americans kings. So that way, make one of them rich. See, one of them got out. Woo! You do the same behaviors. That means what they end up what ends up happening is now you have more people going to jail, getting played by the system. And then if they don't go to jail or get played by the system, the behavior sets are antithetical to, to be honest with you, to working together. Somebody came up and said the other day, a week ago, oh, this dude over here, I knew this dude. He said you did this thing, and was basically asking me to tell him how to do this thing for free. And he didn't bring anything to exchange. Didn't think there was any. Hey, I came up with this. What'd you come up with? Or none of that. It was like, hey, heard you do this. I've never spoken with you. Don't know you, but I need you to do this for me. Okay. No. Now I'm the bad guy. Don't care. What did he bring to the table? Just like do with checks. Every person. What do you bring? What's your value add? Oh, well, no. No, I don't care. I'm an introvert. I prefer being by myself. I literally prefer being by myself. Why would I want you near me? And people think the same way about you too. I'm like, I don't. I don't care. I'm an introvert. I prefer being by myself. Or if I'm going to work, I'm going to work in a team where we get shit done. Not where it's just sitting around, one dude thinking, "Oh, I'm so cool, and I can sit by the freaking water cooler and talk bullshit." And yeah, yeah. Those people don't last very long. So this is where we got to redo, got to get this completed. Without human infrastructure, we're going to get spanked. And I'm a capitalist. Right now, another thing that's happening, that's going on, is everyone's looking at the midterms. Every The cynicism that has been put forth by Joe Manchin because of his bigotry and his want to keep his people poor, so they don't go running off. Because here's the thing: we know that, okay, he has his coal-fired power plant. Well, he could have switched over to another capital. We would have helped him move over to another. Here's another business. Same thing. You're still making money. Who cares? It's about power. It's about hurting those people, calling them dumb fuckers. Can't be having them all something thinking they can't. Oh, he doesn't. No, keep them dumb, stupid, uneducated, dirty, because they're in the mines, angry. Here's a few little biscuits. Oh, the niggers took the other part of the biscuits. That's what they're all about. That's what he's doing. Then you have certain sects that the far right who are just they want a dictator. And people do not think that this is oh, it's not going to be that bad. It's not that bad until it is. History keeps saying the same thing. So the thing about inflation is this is inflated asset. This is an asset bubble that's going to retrace or break. 44, 48 now. This is COVID. So as quantitative easing comes back or down, comes out, and the Fed quits buying the debt of these companies, they're going to actually have to start making money. So this is something that, yeah, I suggest everyone go and at least watch, understand how QE works, and understand why the Build Back Better from a purely financial pocketbook situation works. Will help you, help companies, help you, help the average worker. But there's a lot of people who don't want to help out, don't who think that a third world country is great. It sucks. Let's get real, dude. Kennedy's pulling the frickin' cartels into the California politics, and it's not so much about, oh, if you just no, this is completely different. And you can say, well, there's always been these. Yeah, that's true. Yep, yeah, not a problem. But there's always been when the persons who create society say, yeah, we put up with you for a wee bit. Now it's time for you to quit. When they say, no, we're going to kill you. Nah, we can't have that. And that's what's going on in Mexico. That's what's going on in South America. That's what's going on in these third world countries. People don't believe that they can just go out and make a buck. So he's basically turning African American communities in the third world countries. And also, not just African American communities, but any community where they're making less than $25,000, $30,000 per person, or 25 to 45,000 max. That's middle class, but they're just trying to keep that process down. So, so what do we do about this? If you know somebody, get double check. Right now, we know all of all these states that are suppressing the vote. And old Mitchie is happy about it. As he stated, he doesn't believe African Americans are Americans. When he said, "Oh, African Americans are voting in the same number that European Americans are voting," so, okay, that shouldn't be a problem, should it? So what do we do? You sit there, you got to go out, meet somebody, got to go get grassroots. If the Democrats, 22 and 24, turn out the vote, you'll save democracy. If and this is observation. This is the Republicans using what I'm saying and then trying to turn it around. They're like, well, me, these people. They if you can stop, the getting people to be cynics. That's the whole idea. That's Mitch McConnell's thing. Well, just give up, dude. Keep trying. The whole kid putting his hand on the and kids trying to swing, and I ain't that kid, dude. That's because Mitch McConnell is blind. He's a blind bully. He's just a bully. He's just a cowardly little bully. I used to Adam Kinzinger said was surprised that there were a lot of his colleagues who would throw the country under the bus. And these are people who he thought had backbone and courage, true backbone. There was like, hey, talk about the Constitution, and I mean, shit. Most people would wipe their ass with the Constitution. They don't even know they haven't even read it. Freedom is our clarion call. If you're an American, and freedom's being taken away, so somebody else can tell you how to think, who to love, how to worship. Nah, that ain't cool. Oh, and then use public funds so that way that they lower the value of the schools, of non-private schools, and then take public funds and put it to private schools, so that way they can still be bigots and not be around persons, other people, instead of learning how to be around other people. All these people say they love Jesus, but I've never who are so fearful, so fearful, and say, "Well, and nosy and in other people's business." The God of your heart should be the God of your heart. It's what's in your heart. That's between you and God, not between you and everybody else. And you should be fighting for as many freedoms within reason, as long as you're treating other people well. Treat the golden rule. But anyways, the world's a complicated place, but it doesn't have to be as complicated as people try to make it out to be. Once again, happy Valentine's Day. May the force be with you.